Thebes, city of the living, crown jewel of Pharaoh Seti I. Home of Imhotep, Pharaoh's high priest, keeper of the dead. Birthplace of Anaxunamun, Pharaoh's mistress. No other man was allowed to touch her.
So
you are doing it, yay. I think you should read that one, though, specifically.
Alright, for my birthday that just happened, Christy's mom got me a 500 Godzilla Facts book.
She was very excited about it and could not keep it a secret, so I've known for like 3 weeks.
And I'm very excited about it. So, for the foreseeable future, I hope you like Godzilla Facts, because I'm going to read one. Starting with today's. Number 7. There is a city in Washington called Zilla. It is home to a cathedral called the Church of Godzilla. There is a steel wireframe in the shape of the famous dinosaur behind the building, holding a sign that reads, Jesus Saves.
Godzilla says, Jesus saves.
Yeah, there's your Godzilla fact of the day.
We'll post a picture on Instagram.
It's got Godzilla on it.
I meant of the Godzilla Jesus saves.
Oh, I thought you meant the book.
We can post that too if you want.
Okay. Oh, and it's it was written by James Egan. It's interesting. I love Godzilla, so it's perfect. Hey there, mummies, pharaohs, magi, and librarians.
Welcome to another episode of What Happens in the Crypt.
Today, we're discussing the masterpiece starring Brendan Fraser, and it was directed by Stephen
That's definitely Steven.
Stephen Sommers.
I think Stefan is A-N.
Stephen Sommers. Of course, I'm talking about the 1990 film, The Mummy.
1999.
God damn it! Of course, we're talking about the 1999 film, The Mummy.
You love this movie.
We kind of put it on as a joke the other night, and I was like, wait, I love this movie.
I loved it too, but not as much as you did.
It's very
do.
very nostalgic for me. Mm-hmm. I used to have a VHS of the first two.
Same.
I'd watch them all the time.
Gave me nightmares.
Did not give me nightmares.
The bugs.
The scares
scarabs.
Are creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said in the last episode, this isn't a horror movie. Kind of, it has horror elements.
It is a universal monster, though.
But it is a universal monster, so it counts.
And also, there's a lot of cool behind the scenes, and it's interesting. And if you've seen this movie, there's a lot of cool stuff that happens in it.
And judging by how much it made in the box office, a lot of you have seen this movie.
Mm-hmm. If you grew up in the 90s, you probably, like us, also loved this movie growing up. A synopsis for this movie at an there's a lot of big words. Hold on. Archaeological. Okay. An archaeological dig in the ancient city of Hamunaptra, an American serving in the French Foreign Legion accidentally awakens a mummy who begins to wreak havoc as he searches for the reincarnation of his long-lost love.
I'm surprised you struggled with archaeological and then nailed Hamunaptra.
Because we just watched it. Did they say archaeological? Probably.
Definitely.
But Hamunaptra, I got that. I knew you were going to say that.
I just talk about Hamunaptra every day. I just say it all the time. It's my fave city.
Listen, so when I looked at archaeological, it could have been, I started to read it before I read the whole word. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Yeah, so it could have been archaeologist. And then I stumbled. But Hamunaptra, I know what that word is. And when I saw the capital H, my brain was like, we know this word.
Trigger warnings for this movie include, I kind of just left this open to discussion.
There's not much of anything. It's practically PG beyond there's scary moments. There's not even really any gore.
Well, some people get devoured, but you don't really see too much of it. You do see through a CGI man, the mummy.
Right.
So there's gore.
Well, so I told you this, but one of the things I read said that the team specifically was working to make this like a no gore type of movie, and that they actually had tests for grossness threshold, quote unquote. So they would check to make sure that it was safe, because this was aimed to be like a family movie.
Yeah, so it's pretty safe. Taglines for this movie include, "The sands will rise, the heavens will part, the power will be unleashed.
The legend you know, the adventure you have yet to imagine."
Or, I think this one's my favorite because it sounds like a song. It sounds like a new metal song from the
Oh,
early
I thought you were going to
2000s.
say like a country song. Dolly Parton.
Uncover the secret, unlock the legend, unleash the power. That sounds like a Dolly Parton song.
Maybe.
Is Dolly Parton trying to reincarnate
She is all
Ra?
powerful, all knowing.
Just
I'm on a Dolly Parton kick right now.
my brain just cut to Dolly Parton.
Singing with.
No, having reincarnated an Egyptian god and is now plotting a world domination.
No, she's a good guy. She would use it to help get like the COVID vaccine spread.
So
She funded the Johnson & Johnson one, partially.
So you're saying Dolly Parton is going to resurrect some ancient Egyptian god?
To get people vaccinated.
All right. You heard it here first.
Cut that out.
Nope. It's all staying
I'm
in.
more tired than I thought, I guess.
Originally, it was never really our plan to do an episode on this movie, but like I said, we kind of put it on as a joke. But I just happened to kind of start looking up some behind-the-scenes things.
Frantically like, there's a documentary. There's this video.
Well, I didn't know there was a lot of behind-the-scenes.
I know.
This was not the original direction for the movie, or the original director. The original plan was to have Clive Barker, who was just coming off of his cult classic Hellraiser, write and direct the Mummy movie.
Insane. It's hilarious because that was an option, knowing what the final result was.
First option. Apparently, though, he pitched a hard R movie.
Yeah, no shit.
That involved heavy amounts of gore, violence, and other adult themes. And the producers were like, dude, we cannot make this movie.
Insane. If Clive Barker directed this, it would have been disgusting. It would be on my list of never watch agains, probably. Like,
I mean, I love Hellraiser.
Hellraiser.
I love Hellraiser. Next, they decided to go to Joe Dante. You may know him for The Burbs and Gremlins.
I don't think this is too wild of a choice, because Gremlins is like a comedy of horror, you know?
Yeah, this one would have made more sense, but apparently his vision for the film was to star Daniel Day-Lewis and was apparently going to cost much more than they wanted to spend. And we're still not done. After Joe Dante, they asked horror film icon George Romero to give it a shot.
So weird.
That would have been such a different movie.
Yeah, it's like whoever was, attempting to find a director literally was just like, it's going to be about the mummy. That's all we know. Just.
But yeah, they said his version of the film was too dark.
Shocker.
Because duh. Mm-hmm. And then they went to Steven. Nope. There's another one. And after that, they decided to ask Wes Craven.
Yeah, also strange.
Also, a man who only makes hard R, like, only rated R. Mm-hmm. Very gory R.
Right. And like I said already, they had, like, the gore test for things that they were trying to shoot in this movie so that it was not gory. Because it is rated PG-13, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, because it's, like, teetering on, like, a very, very tame PG-13.
Yeah, they cut it. They did whatever they could to make it PG-13, including there's a scene where Evelyn is coming out of the river and she's wearing a white gown, but apparently it was see-through, and they CG'd her nudity out of it.
Yeah.
To make it not see-through. That's
right.
how much they were trying to get it PG-13.
It is kind of brilliant, though, because this movie made an obscene amount of money.
Yes. And, yes, Wes Craven was too busy making the Scream franchise.
Right.
Good on him, though. I'm glad he stuck with Scream. Yeah.
They were like, Nightmare on Elm Street, we love all that blood. We want you to write something for us, but no blood. So weird.
They went to like if this list is like, if somebody was like, hey, what's the goriest, who are the goriest directors you can think of? I would have been like, oh yeah, these guys.
Right.
Maybe not Joe Dante, but I understand how he was going to be too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he would have wanted to do like all animatronics and stuff, but Steven Sommers got the gig.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of how well this movie did, the budget was only $80 million and ended up making $418 million.
$416.5 million.
Insane.
Yeah.
I also read a figure that based on how much money they spent on the CG, that every CG shot essentially cost $125,000.
Yeah, they reportedly They reportedly spent $15 million of the $80 million on special effects. Mm-hmm. These special effects were done by legendary special effects team ILM. You may know some of ILM's work without knowing their name from projects such as The Irishman, The Mandalorian, Star Wars, Artemis Fowl, Terminator, Spider-Man Far From Home, Aladdin, Avengers Endgame, Us, Bumblebee, Bird Box, Aquaman. So yeah,
big name.
Big name. I would say they're probably tied for first biggest, if not bigger than
Weta.
Mm-hmm. I would say Weta and ILM are the two biggest in the special effects industry. For this movie, the producers wanted a new look for the Mummy so that they would avoid comparisons to the past. John Andrew Burton Jr., ILM's visual effects supervisor on the Mummy, started developing the look 3 months before filming started. He said that he wanted the Mummy to be mean, tough, nasty, and something that had never been seen by audiences before.
It's definitely a unique take on like a mummy figure. And also, even when we put this on recently, like I didn't immediately connect like, oh, it's a universal monster because it feels so different.
Yeah, and it's just like a lot of the CG that they did on him was like unique, especially for the 90s and before. The fact that you can like see through him is what makes him so undead feeling and mystical. Is that the word?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, mystical. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's gross and terrifying looking, and like his mouth gets huge. His like, jaw breaks at times.
However, for a lot of the actors on this movie, this was one of the first times they were working with this type of technology, where the actor that played the mummy, I'm blanking.
Arnold Vosloo.
So they use different tracking devices on his face, which I know you're going to get into a little bit more. But while they were shooting scenes where he was wearing the tracking devices, they showed the actors a full version of what it would look like in CG so that they would have better reactions. Because it's like, okay, his mouth is going to be gigantic, but here he just has like a red blinking light on his face.
Yeah, so it was like basically like tracking dots. And it would be different for each scene because sometimes it would just be his jaw, but sometimes he's less human. Sometimes he's more human. So they would have to coach him on, because hey man, your real eyes are here, but it's a CG jaw. But now in this scene you're fully human, and now this scene you have a hole in your chest. So it's pretty cool how well they prepared for this. Vosloo described the filming as a whole new thing for him. They had to put these little red tracking lights all over my face so they could map in the special effects. A lot of the time, I was walking around the set looking like a Christmas tree, he said.
Yes, that definitely makes sense as far as having like the finished image for like Brendan Fraser to look at, because of course it's just like, oh, you just have blinking lights all over your face. This is not menacing.
Or when there's a lot of times where he like screams or like yells at people with his giant jaw, but in reality, he's just a dude.
He's just a regular guy.
Got these red blinking lights on him. Now, this movie was not all CG. For example, in the scenes where Evelyn, played by Rachel Weisz, There's the scene where she's covered in like rats and locusts. They used a lot of real animals for the movie. Or there's the scene in which the scarabs come from the sands to chase the explorers. So obviously the scarabs are CG.
Right.
Like, there's no real scarab
And I think, honestly,
like that.
that's the only thing that is, like, has aged poorly, is the scarabs.
Yeah, but there's literally no way you can do the scarabs without it being obvious. It's CG because
they're shiny.
Actually, no. It's actually easier to CG shiny things.
Okay.
Fun fact, the easiest thing to CG is chrome because you just have to put a reflection.
Okay.
And apparently,
Interesting.
it's the easiest thing.
Yeah, because watching that, I'm like, okay, like, the mummy's face still looks good. All of the stuff, his mouth opening is fair, but the little scarabs.
But it's also the fact that the scarab's movement is impossible. Mm-hmm. And you'd know that watching the movie.
I guess so. That makes sense.
But to help sell it, the bubbling of the sand was done with air compressors.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And I always note that it looks really good when they're about to burst from the sand. Because it's all like the rising and falling of the sand.
Right.
Those parts are always cool. A funny scene that we'll have to post something on our Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you follow us at What Happens in the Crypt for the Instagram, and the Twitter is WHITC_official. Is a video.
300 followers or something.
360?
Dang. I don't understand Twitter.
I don't understand Twitter either.
Why are people following us?
I don't know.
I'm glad, but who are you?
But the scene where Evelyn is on the sacrificial slab, you see Brendan Fraser fighting mummies, all of which are CGI. And that scene had to be meticulously choreographed, but they actually worked with the CGI artists as well, because they, because obviously Brendan Fraser, his fight scene couldn't be perfect. He's literally by himself, fighting like 7 CG
so
mummies.
Weird.
So they mapped his choreography and made the mummies react accordingly. Mm-hmm. So they did a really good job with the teamwork there. To make ILM's job even harder, there were a lot of difficulties filming because they, although couldn't shoot in Egypt, which I'll get into more a little later, most of the movie was shot in Africa. And they actually shot a lot of the scenes in the Sahara Desert. And apparently they had a huge problem with sand.
It's real sandy in the desert.
But none of the guns fired how they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. They had all of the guns in that movie were supposed to fire blanks so that they didn't have to be CG. And then they all had to be CG.
Yeah, that sucks.
Because there's a lot of guns in this movie.
Right. And that's like one of those problems that you really wouldn't think about until you were out there.
Well, how many times have you been to a desert?
Right. And how would you know how much sand would blow into the actual, like, guns,
yeah.
You know?
You wouldn't know.
Right.
So they actually, when they got to the set, they had to, try to unjam the sand from the guns and then calculate. They're like, okay, this is going to take too much time. We'll give you thousands of dollars more.
Yeah.
ILM, please CG them instead. We're not going to bother with it.
Yeah. Can you imagine if that was your job? That'd suck.
Yes, and I don't want to do it. That's like
go through scene by scene.
That's
and
bitch work.
Yeah,
that's like
it's bitch work.
That's intern work.
Oh, that would suck.
That's literally intern work right there.
It's like the person next to you is like sculpting a mummy from scratch, and you're like, I have to make sure the gun shoots at the right time.
all the guns shoot. Oh, you're the gun guy. Sucks to be the gun guy.
Yeah. Another practical effect that they did. The scene where hail and fire fall on, was it Cairo or Cairo? Cairo, that's what I thought. It was actually dried dog food that was painted white to be balls of hail.
Well, yeah, because it's perfect, actually. Because, CG's tough and expensive. They're like, man, we could do this practically for, like, $200.
Yeah, a couple bags of dog food.
And some spray paint. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yep, that's hail. Mm-hmm. I never would have guessed in 1,000 years that it was
dog food.
Dog food.
Never would have thought dog food.
The filming of this movie began on May 4th of 1998, and it lasted 17 weeks, and it began in Marrakech, Morocco. For the scenes in the desert, that was actually the Sahara Desert, and they were based in the small town of Erfoud. And Erfoud?
I don't know.
I'm trying my best. There's going to be some Egyptian names we do not get correct. And then some scenes were shot in the UK. Obviously, when you're going to shoot any movie, you have to get permission, and they could not get permission to actually to shoot in Egypt. At the time, it said there were unstable political conditions.
Yeah, got to keep Brendan Fraser safe.
Got to keep him safe. And actually, to keep the cast and crew safe, there were a lot of hurdles. To avoid dehydration in the scorching heat of the Sahara, the medical team actually had to create a drink specific for deserts, because apparently water wasn't enough.
It's crazy.
They were sweating, they were too hot and too dehydrated that it had to be like some Gatorade protein mix.
Yeah, being dehydrated feels really bad. I can't imagine drinking a gallon of water not being enough to be out there, that you also need something else.
Like electrolytes and other vitamins. And the cast and crew had to drink this drink. They didn't even have a name for it. They apparently just came up with it on the spot. But they had to consume it every 2 hours.
Not only were they dealing with the heat and the sun and the dehydration, but sandstorms, snakes, spiders, and scorpions were also a major problem. Having many crew members airlifted out after being bitten.
Or stung.
Speaking of the sandstorms, though, the scene when Imhotep is raising the sandstorm, the camera had to quickly pan up because the wind machines being used kept exposing his backside, his butt, which I think is hilarious. And next time we watch it, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to try to see his butt.
That's where his butt would be.
They're moving the camera because his butt was showing. Because he is just wearing a little loincloth thing.
He does not wear a lot of clothes.
Yeah.
And because of this, he apparently had to be shaved twice a day.
That sounds like hell.
For him, but also imagine being
the shaver. Yeah. that was somebody's job.
Somebody got paid. This is 17 weeks. I mean, he wasn't there for all 17 weeks.
Yeah.
But somebody got paid thousands of dollars and flown, maybe not flown to Africa. It might have been a local. I do not know. But somebody got paid.
We need to find who the shaver was.
Somebody got paid thousands of dollars to shave a grown man twice a day.
His whole body.
Yeah, he's smooth.
Yeah. Oh, feel bad for his poor skin. That just had to be a lot.
Yeah, apparently waxing was briefly attempted, but he found it very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I've never been waxed before.
But it's he is completely smooth. We don't use a razor to shave your head. Imagine it being that much closer.
I think I would like it to be shorter, even.
But then as soon as it started growing, you would see it.
Shave me twice a day.
No. No.
Unbeknownst to most of the crew and all of the cast, the production actually had the official support of the Royal Moroccan Army. And all of the cast and crew had kidnapping insurance taken out on them. A fact they did not know until filming was done.
I would be very upset about that.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Happy to have the insurance, but not liking that it was necessary and I wasn't told.
Yeah. Because obviously there are unstable areas. But
big expensive film crew, yeah.
This isn't really behind the scenes, but I felt like it was cool to add. Imhotep was not actually created for this movie, although he's a much different figure in real life. Imhotep was actually the name of the architect who developed the first pyramids in ancient Egypt, most notably the Pyramid of Djoser.
I do think it's just Djoser.
Djoser at... I'm trying. I'm doing my best. Most notably, the Pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara around 2600 BC. His ability was such that he was later said to have descended from the gods, and his name means one who comes in peace.
I think that's really comical, too.
I know.
The translation versus, him being the bad guy of the whole movie.
And as far as anybody knows, he was never a villain. He was a pretty good guy. And also, not technically a location, but it is a real thing. In 2004, Universal Studios I think it's in it's at all of their locations or in 2 of their locations. I've been to the one in Orlando, but they opened a ride called Revenge of the Mummy.
We're going to ride it 2023.
2023, hopefully.
An Egyptologist was brought in to phonetically render what ancient Egyptian might have sounded like for the dialogue. Which this is always like a really nice tidbit in movies that are doing different languages or ancient languages when they at least attempt. Just attempt, yeah.
That's cool that they did it. And, I mean, like, it sounded really good.
Yeah.
But it's really cool when they actually bring in somebody to actually make it sound like a real language. I know they did it also on Game of Thrones for Dothraki.
Yes.
Dothraki. They brought in actual language experts, and they joke about it in The Office, but it is technically a language you could learn and speak,
right.
which is cool.
Got a lot of Office references today.
What was the other one?
The talking about the clown on the wall in Jim Pam's house, and also Todd Packer.
Oh, Todd Packer.
Yeah.
Right. All right. I don't reference The Office a lot.
You almost never do, which is weird that you've done it so many times today. That's okay. Anyways.
Speaking of language, the original opening voiceover was supposed to be spoken by Imhotep. But at the last moment, Director Stephen Sommers realized Imhotep wouldn't speak English. So, he gave the voiceover to Artist Bay instead.
Right.
Oh, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but the library disaster scene where all of the books are falling over, that was done in one take.
Yeah, because
they said it would have taken 24 hours to reset up, not even reshoot.
Yeah.
So, get it right.
She really knocks down all those bookshelves.
The production designer that day and the art director were just sweating.
Yeah.
Just sweating. Like, please, Anubis, let this work. It has to. They would have been so fucked. So fired.
Can you imagine if she just, like, accidentally swore or stumbled on her words and, like, it was unusable?
Oh, no. Oh, that would have been a disaster. We can't talk about this movie without talking about our boy.
Your
the
boy.
Very handsome Brendan Fraser.
You said that for Halloween you wanted me to go as Brendan Fraser.
No,
so
I'm going...
You wanted to fulfill that fantasy. You wanted to kiss Brendan Fraser.
I would. You wouldn't?
Of course I would.
I know. But he was cast due to the success of George of the Jungle.
George of the Jungle.
He's hot as fuck in that movie.
He's ripped.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
But they said, director Stephen Sommers said that he felt Fraser fit the swashbuckling character he had envisioned perfectly. He said Brendan Fraser, this is a quote, he said Brendan Fraser seems like somebody who doesn't take himself too seriously. Rachel Weisz's character, Evelyn, was actually kind of based on a real person, so I feel like we should give this woman a shout out. Her own little section right here.
This Egyptian woman a shout out.
No. It was a British woman.
Oh, sorry. I didn't read it.
So
my brain immediately went to the second movie where she like has like her
yes,
her past life.
Yes.
So I thought that's where this was going. All right.
So in real life, her name was Evelyn, and she was there when King Tut's tomb was discovered in 1922. The person who funded the campaign was George Herbert, and that is actually Evelyn's real life last name. So she was called Lady Evelyn Herbert, and she accompanied Howard Carter to Egypt. Rachel Weisz's character is named Evelyn Carnahan, and makes some mention of having a wealthy father who sent her to Egypt and has like dealings in Egypt. So it's cool that they, like, I've never heard of Lady Evelyn Herbert.
No, me either.
So it's kind of cool to get like a little backstory. And I mean, especially in 1922, for a woman to go basically out on her own to Egypt. I mean, there were people with her, but
yeah, super cool.
That's like, could you imagine going to Egypt right now?
No.
And I'm not going with you.
I'm like, I don't even go to the store alone, so no.
Originally, the Magi were supposed to be tattooed from head to toe, but director Stephen Sommers decided to last minute veto it because Oded Fehr was too good looking to be covered up.
He is very handsome. I always think he's, what's his face from Lord of the Rings?
Aragorn?
Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So, Oded Fehr is the actor, and the character's name is Ardeth Bay.
Yeah. They do have a very similar vibe.
They do. So, yeah, originally his entire face was supposed to be covered, but they, settled it to just, the two markings he has under his eyes.
Good call.
Which are real Egyptian hieroglyphics, I think. I think they're supposed to be hieroglyphics. I'm pretty sure I read that. Mm-hmm. Oh, and the scene where Arnold Vosloo Imhotep is mummified, he had to be wrapped up like that for 4 hours.
That'd be horrible.
Yeah, he said it was terrifying.
Yeah. The scene in the very beginning where Brendan Fraser is about to be hung for his crimes? Why is he in the prison at that point? Just real quick.
I don't remember. I think
That's okay.
It was robbery. He stole something. Can't remember.
He pissed a bunch of people off, so they decided to hang him. But he actually, quote unquote, nearly died because this was not rigged up correctly. He stopped breathing and he had to be resuscitated during the scene.
That quote is from Rachel Weisz. So,
Yeah.
She's just an actress on scene, and she's like, oh.
Yeah,
they're
that would be
giving
really
him
scary.
CPR.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Brendan Fraser.
He's a gem.
He is a gem.
We must protect.
I will give you £100 to save this man's life.
Madame, I would pay £100 just to see him hang.
£200.
Proceed.
£300.
Any last requests, pig?
Yeah, loosen the knot and let me go.
I also thought this was funny, but the actor who plays Benny, and Benny is the shithead who always is trying to double cross everybody. But for whatever reason, you can actually see it in the movie a little bit when he's trying to run away with a sack full of gold, but he's pulling on that camel and it's not moving. Well, apparently, none of the camels liked him. In real life.
Weird.
The camels hated him.
You don't want to be the guy that the camels don't like.
It's so fun, especially for his character, because you hate him. I hate him. And this is the camels are like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as death count goes for this movie, a lot.
A lot. There's way too many to figure out, honestly.
Oh, yeah, because at the beginning, there's the whole mini,
shootout at the beginning.
There's the shootout on the boat. There's people getting eaten by beetles, getting devoured by Imhotep. There's a lot.
Yeah.
So many people die.
And really, the death count's only fun, in my opinion, when it's like all the on-screen slashers. Yes. I don't want to be there were 82 soldiers that got killed that we didn't know who any of them were. So.
Yeah. But
Anyways,
what's your favorite death?
In this one?
Yeah.
Probably the guy with that loses his eyeballs.
Oh, yeah. And then he gets his tongue taken.
And his tongue. I think he loses his tongue first or both.
Eyeballs first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the death for me that I remember the most from this movie, probably just because I've watched it so many times as a kid, and I just thought it was how could they do that? Is actually when they kill the pharaoh.
Oh, the whole Anasha Samoon, whatever her name is.
Nailed it.
How do you say it?
I think it's Anaksunamun, something like that.
I was got the right sounds. Anasha Samoon.
But yeah, when they stab the pharaoh to death. Because, like I said, so this came out in 1999. I was 5.
Yeah.
So when I was watching this on VHS a bunch, I was probably 7, 8. So in that scene, I was like, whoa!
The betrayal.
The betrayal! Wow, that's their pharaoh. Wow.
Yeah,
It
totally.
just blew my mind when I was a kid. So I feel like that's definitely up there for me.
You can watch this one on HBO Max, and they also have the second one, and they also have The Scorpion King, which we started and didn't finish yet.
It's just a more action-y version. It's not great, but it's fun to watch. And then they made a third one. We're not going to talk about that one.
I have not seen
We'll eventually come back and talk about 2. But then they also made one with Tom Cruise, and I'm never going to watch that.
Oh, it was really bad.
I made it 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, wow, this sucks.
Yep.
For our next episode, we're going to be talking about the 2006 Guillermo del Toro movie, Pan's Labyrinth.
I do love this movie.
Some of my favorite creatures of all time. I love Guillermo del Toro. Mm-hmm. The Eye Guy.
Yeah.
The Fawn. This has some of the coolest effects. I actually know way too much about this movie already. Probably just because I love it. And it's a classic. It's just great. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we agreed on doing this movie, we ordered the special collector's edition.
Of course we
with
did.
all the extra bonus features.
Yep.
We'll post a picture of the cover as soon as it comes. Mm-hmm. Which I think will be the same day as this episode.
It will be. It says Tuesday.
Heck yeah.
That's what we get for living right next to the Amazon warehouse.
So look out for that picture. The cover is actually really cool looking.